We're no longer on the road to Gillette. We're actually here. It's finally upon us. State Championship Saturday, just days away. Welcoming you in to our final and last preview segment of the season. Can't believe this. Scott Barboza, Brennan Hall, as always. Brennan, where did time go?
It seemed like yesterday we were at a 7-on-7 tournament in July heat in Peabody. Sweating, watching kids run patterns. Just trying to judge who's going to be the teams to beat, come August, come September. And, boy, time really does fly. It seems like, in the grand scheme of things, it's a long season, but it's a short season. And after today, or rather 2 days from today when this video comes out, we're going to have to wait a whole nother year for this to go down.
Crazy.
But it really is a special time of year here at Gillette.
And, of course, extra special this year with the first year, the 6 true state champions will be crowned here. No games going on across the state, no 19 games having to worry about and watch scoreboards and all that stuff. If you win something here, you're going to actually feel something special that nobody else has really felt before.
Yeah, and every year here we see something truly special. I think the first year we had games at Gillette Stadium, the epic overtime battle between Dartmouth and Everett, Jordan Todman versus Isaac Johnson. We saw an epic comeback here. Our first year at ESPN Boston, Mansfield's comeback over Reading in the second half, down 3 touchdowns. Last year, Barnstable, Everett. Boy, that was a classic showdown. Every year you see one special game here, a lot of special moments for a lot of players who've worked hard all year. These are the guys we talk about in May in the weight room, in July in 7-on-7s in the dog days of summer. This is what everyone works up for, and there's 12 teams playing here on Saturday. It's an awesome moment to be here. We saw kids, a lot of smiling faces here at the breakfast this morning, at the team breakfast. Just a special experience overall. I can't say that enough. It really is something to behold here on Saturday.
And tough to top as always, but I think this year's slate really could go toe-to-toe, of course, with bringing teams from across the state. So we're going to go division by division here. We'll bring in our picks as well after we talk to some of the participants here. But let's kick it off in Division 6. Cohasset, our esteemed colleague Phil Garceau perhaps said it best, the closest blowout you've ever seen against St. Clement. A very interesting, intriguing game at Brockton a couple weeks ago. And then also Littleton, which just absolutely rolled through Turner's Falls, the central champion. They meet up here.
Yeah, and Littleton, being at that game, they were up 40 points in the second quarter, and Turner's Falls wasn't much of a contest. But you look at the stats that they put up, that's a pretty tricky road they had to get through. Blackstone Valley Tech was no pushover there in the final.
Always a perennial Super Bowl team.
Always a perennial Super Bowl team. Travis Bassett, the running back, he's among the leading rushers in Central Mass. Also leaders in all-purpose yards. He's got 500 receiving yards, 1,000 rushing yards, 29 total touchdowns. This kid can move in space. You see some of the clips of him, running out on screen passes or even lining up as a wide receiver, getting downfield. And he's obviously got a very talented quarterback with him, too, Alex McLaughlin. A great baseball player, threw a no-hitter last spring for the baseball team. And he is a true dual threat there. 2,500 yards of offense, 18 touchdowns. This kid can move. He can sling it downfield, a lot like Michael Sullivan from St. Clement, who Cohasset saw last week. So I think they're going to see some similar looks. I'm curious how they draw this one up. And obviously some terrific defensive players there. Matt Jackson, Ryan Clark, Andy McGregor on a defensive line. There's a lot to like with this Littleton team who's making their first appearance here in the Super Bowl here at Gillette Stadium.
I'm always impressed by Cohasset for a school of its side. They get the middle high school group together there on the South Shore. Always, with the lacrosse program, they're a perennial state championship contender in their division, but a lot of crossover there, obviously, and no exception with Cole Kissick, an exceptional University of Richmond commit.
Yeah, really one of the more underrated, I think, running backs in Eastern Mass. We've talked ad nauseum about the lacrosse crossover and how that works. 4 running backs, Mike Panapinto from Needham and Brooks Tyrell from Marblehead were probably 2 of the best in that discipline this year. But Cole's right up there. You see the way, obviously they run a lot of I formation and they get him going downhill. But he's got some live hips and he knows how to dodge defenders. He knows how to force kind of a bad angle, arm tackles. He's got a really nice jab step, I feel like. Just a fascinating player to watch when he gets ahead of his team.
Yeah, and of course with that they set up the play action. They also have some athletes in space there. Rocco Legel, I think, had a great game against St. Clement last week defensively, but also, of course, senior quarterback Chris Haggerty also throwing for 1,000 yards this year and 14 touchdowns. We caught up with him here with Chris Haggerty, senior quarterback for the Cohasset Skippers. Now, Chris, obviously, we've been able to see all year on the lacrosse field too. Cole Kissick has been, I think, a breakout in football. I think all of us in the lacrosse circles know a little bit about Cole coming in, but what is he? How have you seen his game grow coming into the season?
Well, we lost a 1,000-yard rusher last year, and Tim Gillis, he tore his ACL during lacrosse. So Cole definitely has stepped up huge and become probably our best offensive weapon, which is huge because we lost our running back last year. So he's just he's grown. You can see how much of an impact he has, and it's just great to have him.
I think anybody, again, obviously a great lacrosse town, a lot of athletes in town. I was very impressed seeing you guys against St. Clement. Great game, tough game. It was the closest blowout perhaps we've seen in recent memory. But they had some real athletes at St. Clement, and I thought you guys were able to match them pound for pound pretty much. Talk about some of the receivers and the cornerbacks that you guys have, a very impressive group.
Rocco Legel is just one of the best athletes we've had here in a while. He matched up very well on number 5, one of the best receivers, probably in D6, probably the best. But he did a great job shutting him down, and he's just been a weapon. We can put him anywhere because of his athleticism. He kicks, he can play running back, he can throw the ball, and receiver, he does it all.
Now, when you take a look at the film coming into Littleton, obviously at this stage of the year, probably not a lot of common opponents or common film there, but this, perhaps a slightly undersized team, but a very athletic group. What have you seen from them when you're looking at the film?
Yeah, they have a lot of athletes, so it'll be interesting to see how we match up with them because we have a lot of athletes too, so it should be a fun game.
Thanks very much, Chris. Now let's get into the pick here. Brandon, kick it off, D6. Cohasset, Littleton, what's the pick?
Littleton comes into this game averaging 40.9 points per game. That's more than any other team competing here on Saturday. I think they put up some more points here. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth battle. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. But give me Littleton 34-28.
Yeah, I think people could be a little taken back by the athleticism that they'll be in this game. For schools of their size, I think there's a decent level of talent across the field here. This could be a sleeper game on the day. I'm going to go with the Skippers, though, completing a pretty fine run there as the number 1 seed coming out of the South. They go all the way. I'm going to call it 27-20. Let's flip the page now to Division 5 with Northbridge. We'll be catching up with them. Obviously a little project in the works here. Look out for that on the blog. But again, Bishop Fenwick, you saw them last week. Rufus Russians, the question going into that game was, would he play, wouldn't he? Looked pretty good.
Yeah, and my understanding from that game is that he's shut it down for defense. I know it's something he's been looked at for college prospects, but for purposes of taking care of his elbow there, which was pretty heavily padded, they're going to keep him on offense. But boy, is he a bull to deal with when he gets a full head of steam downhill. Obviously, a lot of what they do is read option and veer and what have you. And Nick Bona, a great compliment to that. Another true dual threat, a guy who has 1,300 passing yards, surprisingly. But you see how much that's set up with the run with guys like Russians and several others back there. But Charlie Mestrelis on the perimeter, very good player. This Northbridge team, we've really over the years typecast this team as a passing team. Obviously, Ken LaChapelle, one of 3 coaches all time with 300 wins.
They're taking kindly to the run this year.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard that. You've heard the quote before from Ken about, I'd like to one day call a game where I do nothing but passes, but that's been the complete opposite. Kobe Schofer, the sophomore quarterback, 440 carries, 1,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, all on the ground. They like to run some empty quarterback veer kind of action. They do really well with it. Obviously, when they go to the air, they do well with Chandler Brooks, 500 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. Jake Wood, a nice compliment out of the slot, and also lining up at running back. This is a pretty good running attack. Surprisingly, from years in past when they like to just throw the ball around, they still have that quick game and the slip screens and slants and all that. But boy, when you got guys like Tom Tabor and Connor Gatto in the middle of the field, you're averaging 280 in the interior offensive line going across those 3 positions. Boy, they can win some battles at the point of attack. I think they can blow guys off the ball. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup to watch, and particularly on defense too. We talk a lot about things, their power running game, but Northbridge, when they pinch those guys down and they just want to take the middle of the field by brute force, they can blow guys back. I think it's going to be a really, really good battle to watch in the interior. It
is interesting. And then, of course, on the outside, you also have tight end, defensive end, senior captain, Roby Sabarin. We caught up with him here.
Roby, this is your first time here as a team here at Gillette Stadium. What's the experience like?
It's an experience like no other. We've been fortunate enough to play in, bunch of Super Bowls. The past 5 years we've been to the Super Bowl, but it's nothing like this. state championship first year with the new playoff system. Not sure in the beginning of the season, how it was going to be, how it was going to play out. But, to be at this point, to be, one of the top 12 teams out of the state for, high school football, it's a pretty big deal. And playing at, Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play, all these other great teams, it's a great feeling.
Northbridge football, so it's a unique culture over there. Yeah. Do you expect a big caravan on Saturday?
Oh, yeah, we have some fan buses coming, and football is pretty big in our town. We're a very athletic town, sports-wise, through our school, and football is one of, it's our biggest program, and there's always a great crowd at our games, and it's definitely a great atmosphere to play in.
Yeah. You mentioned about the athleticism, and there's a youth movement at the skill positions. Kobe Schofer, a sophomore, a couple other nice sophomore players there, but it seems like they're playing beyond their years, maturity-wise.
Oh, yeah. At the beginning of this year, we were labeled as, the young Rams, young team with a bunch of sophomores, and, couldn't ask of anything better of those kids this year. They really stepped up, and, first few weeks were tough for us, didn't know how the rest of the season was going to go, but everybody came through, and those young guys are playing great, a bunch of great athletes in that class.
You guys are known for the passing game. Ken LaChapelle, one of the true innovators in the passing game in Massachusetts. But the running game has really been keying you guys. Schofer, I think, has more rushing yards than passing yards at this point in the season. Why the obviously you got some big line to work with there. Why the change there, you think?
We started out, Coach always wants to pass the ball. He always comes up with these plays at the beginning of the game that he writes down. He wants to pass the ball. But this year we've actually found, our groove when it comes to running. We knew going into this year that we were going to have a big line, big strong line with some great size, some veterans, a lot of seniors on that line. So we thought that was going to be one of our strengths, and it ended up working out. And we've done a great job balancing that out, this year.
Thanks very much, Roby. Now, Brendan, let's get into the pick here. What do you got?
I got to say, I think this is going to be a seesaw battle.
Yeah.
A lot of these contests are going to be close ones, in my opinion. But I like Northbridge pulling it out here, 26-22. Kobe Schofer, we saw the magic he had late against Huzik in the semifinals. I think it happens here again, and he pulls something out. Quite a remarkable feat for such a young team.
I think it's going to be a battle of the lines here. I mean, again, as you mentioned, Brendan, you think Northbridge, you think spread it out, but I mean, there's some real meat on the inside. And of course, don't forget Fenwick either. Charlie St. Pierre, I think, a pretty underrated guard tackle on the outside there, 6'3", 270 pounds. And Tyler Kaufman, kind of your quintessential high school lineman, 5'9", 180, but they put him everywhere. He plugs, he just has an absolute motor. They're going to be a factor, but ultimately at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the Rams here, and we'll call it 34-27 because, of course, Dave Leaford, our editor, Northbridge alum, I don't want to entitle my job prospectus here, so I'm going to go with the Rams there in the alma mater. Let's shift action to Division 4. And Doherty and Dennis Yarmouth. This is one we've been kind of seeing for, one of, if you could have your pick of some matchups at this level, I think these are two teams that are very interesting to watch and should be a potential for a lot of points here.
Well, it's kind of funny. In the preseason, most of us picked Doherty to win D4.
Yep.
Then right before the plays, I flipped and picked the Dennis Yarmouth.
Flopper.
Yeah, but a couple of weeks ago when Isaac Yidam had his ceremony at Doherty High School, signing with Boston College, there were quite a few players asking about DY, and I think this is a matchup that people had been predicting for a while, that people were hoping that this would be a best case scenario, and it worked out perfectly. We got the best possible matchup I think we could get in Division 4, and two teams that really can do damage on the other. I think Yidam obviously gets a lot of the attention, and deservedly so. 17 yards per touch. We're talking as both a running back in those speed sweeps and as a receiver going out wide. Alfred Adarkwa, we know about him. He's 6'4". He's got that tremendous wingspan, can really take the top of defense. 8 catches in 4 games, but for 6 touchdowns. Just a goal line threat every time. Tyler Kamon, the running back. A couple nice linemen there, obviously. Matt Smalls, Manny Obasui. Very good sophomore to watch out for years to come. Tavion Vassar.
Absolutely.
Wow, he's going to be special.
Player.
Great interior special. But the guy I think is going to be the key here. All the accolades about Luke Brennan, 2,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns. This kid, Jakari Carpenter, it seems like every week we watch watch him. Yep. He pulls off some miraculous run, just jukes everybody on the field. It's like watching NFL blitz. I think every week he seems to have some sort of run like that. It changes the momentum. It changes the dynamic of the game, breaks things open. I think for them to have a big day here, because Dennis Young is gonna throw some nifty things at him.
Absolutely.
They run a pretty unique offense, and the tempo is going to be hard to replicate. Carpenter's going to have to get going in this game. They're going to have to incorporate him in a big way.
Yeah, I think it's with Dennis Yarmouth. We've talked about this all year long. The stable of athletes that they have there, so versatile.
Yeah.
They complement each other very well, though. Of course, Michael Dunn is as we've said, one of the more dynamic athletes there, regardless of division or year for that matter. But really all starts with Spencer Tyler again. He's the tone setter there, going back to that, our first player of the week this year, coming off of that Barnstable game that just really set the tone for the season.
Absolutely. He really another guy that's a little underrated, but he can sling that ball. I mean, he's got good size. We saw him again today. I was taken aback how much bigger he looked from when we saw him in the beginning of the season. And I do think Michael Dunn, for all of the things he does on offense, he's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
But defense, that's where I really like watching him. He's a shutdown corner. We saw, I think his best moment was against Holliston, shutting out Zach Elkinson, holding him without a catch, one of the top receivers in Eastern Mass. Quite an impressive performance there. Kid can really do some damage, I think, in coverage. He can really take a guy out of the game.
And that'll, of course, be the big question here. What do they do with Yiadam, who we'll get to in a minute here, and, of course, Alfred Adarkwa on the other side. But we get the straight story from Isaac right here.
Isaac, this is your first time at Gillette Stadium. Tell me what the experience has been like for you so far.
So far, it's awesome. It's great. Everything I pictured it to be. The place is huge. The fans are going to be crazy. I just can't wait to get on the field and play.
Yeah. This is the first time ever for you guys in a state championship. Honestly, it's been made about your first district title since 1980. Now you're in a big stage. You've come close the last couple of years to making it here. What's the atmosphere been like in school this week?
The whole entire season, the school has just been pumped up. Everybody's just excited for every Friday night game. This week, Saturday, everybody's going to be here at Gillette. We have a couple fan buses, the teachers, the whole entire staff. The city's just pumped up. Everybody's going to be here to watch us do our thing.
You guys expecting a big crowd?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to try to finish with the win and get everybody excited.
Yeah. Tell me about when you look at Dennis Yarmouth, Michael Dunn. What a tremendous athlete he is, the amount of positions he plays, the amount of different ways he can hurt you. What sticks out most about these guys, and how do you plan on neutralizing such an explosive attack?
I feel like they're just like us. They have speed. Their quarterback lets the ball go. He likes to go deep, just like our quarterback. Our DBs just got to play real well and deep. We have to break on the ball and be able to pick off a couple of passes. And if we play good on defense, I think our offense can do what it takes to win.
How would you rate the degree of difficulty in matching their tempo or just practicing for that, in scouting this week?
They do have a fast tempo. They're a no-huddle team, I believe. So that's one thing we've been practicing to get the energy level flowing. Everything is high tempo at practice. So I think we should be good on Saturday.
What's going to be the biggest key for you guys?
Just like every other game, is being physical. Whoever hits harder and whoever makes the most tackles wins.
Thanks very much, Isaac. Let's get it. What's the pick?
Jeez, I think we're going to sense a pattern here, but we go ahead. I think this might come down to who has the ball last.
Yeah.
Really, both teams are capable of scoring on the other, and I think the team that has the ball last will be Doherty.
Yep.
Getting a game-winning touchdown drive here, 31-29.
I'm taking a look at these DY linebackers again. I thought Paul Funk, a quote box that he is calling LK Mets the little stir that stirs the drink last week. Down in against Bedford.
Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, a little homage there to one of the greats of the postseason. But I think one thing I take away from the Bedford game, the stretch play was working early and often for them. They had to make some adjustments up there, switching 3 to 4 man fronts there. I think they could have some problems for everything that we've said about Doherty in their passing game. I think the running game is going to be the point of emphasis here for that DY defense. And again, I just think the matchup on the outside, the combination of height and speed and athleticism, I think is just tough for any team to match up at this level. I'm just going to go with Doherty here, call it 35-31, and shift on to Division III. Of course, this is Eastern Mass exclusive here, Tewksbury, Plymouth South.
Yeah, Tewksbury. It's an interesting thing to consider here because the last 2 playoff games they've played were against spread teams. They came out in that quarters coverage. They were disguising a lot of stuff. They were motion guys up and off the line of scrimmage, running around. They're going to have to stuff the box against these guys. I mean, everyone knows what's coming from the south, running the I formation, the pistol. They're going to pound it between the tackles. And lucky for them, these guys like to hit. They love to hit out of the back. Johnny Aylward, James Sullivan, Kevin Dick. I mean, pick your poison. Eddie Matova at linebacker. This back 7, they are ferocious. They are velociraptors, coming downhill. And on offense, I mean, I don't know, where do you start? Because what is their base formation? Do they have a base formation? Yeah. I mean, I've seen a game where they've gone 20 different formations from every family of offense, a single wing, all sorts of spread schemes, flex bone, traditional I formation, unbalanced stuff. It's fascinating. I'm really impressed with how they're able to kind of get all of this knowledge under their hat. These are very smart players, and they're also very versatile. Johnny Aylward, obviously directing things at quarterback. You have a couple balls there at running back, James Sullivan, Eddie Matova, who can also block. Having Tom Casey at tight end. Kevin Dick, I feel like in another offense, he would have 100 catches.
Yes.
But at Tewksbury, he's one of a half dozen offensive weapons. You saw that screen pass against Melrose that really kind of broke their back. I mean, that was awesome stuff. He might be the key to the offense. But really, where do you start with these guys and what formation?
Now, the contrary to that is Plymouth South. We know where the ball's going.
Absolutely.
Still in Oxon. Oxon obviously taking last week against North off on Thanksgiving. One of the Scott Fry very up front with us a couple weeks back about what his plans were going forward. And obviously with Oxon having such a load, it's just really a marvel to see. Again, with Stoughton, 39 carries, again, 200 yards there. I mean, it just really never fails to amaze them. But again, it all comes back to the guys up front that make it and execute it.
Sean Duncombe, one of the true road graders in this state. He's a guy that defensively I think they're going to have to try to double team or find ways to scheme him out of the play, maybe run away from him or let him fly upfield and read him. Offensively, he obviously does a lot for them in the front. Oxon is not able to set up the counter without him blowing him off tackle. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a thing too. Is the ankle injury with Dylan Oxon has been something that's been hobbling him for a good year and a half now. He, assuming he's fully healthy, he hasn't been played in 2 weeks. He should be a go, but that's going to be something to monitor throughout the day as well.
And taking a look, as you mentioned, that encyclopedic Tewksbury offense, the man who manipulates it and makes it run, the quarterback, Johnny Aylward.
Johnny, you guys were here 2 years ago, and to be fair, it wasn't exactly a competitive matchup for you guys. Has that been a bitter taste in you guys' mouth coming back here again?
Yeah, definitely. Last time we were out here, 35-0 to get shut out. That Duxbury team they were a great team. They had a lot of experience and some great players, and they took it to us really. So I think it kind of motivated us all off season last year, and then certainly the loss to Reading last year in the playoffs, the big one, 42-6. That certainly helped motivate us all the way through. So it feels good to be back here. Feels like we get a shot at redemption, and just gotta finish up practice strong, come in flying on Saturday.
It almost seems like it's been building to this moment from the moment you guys started this year. I think you were touted as a favorite in D3 to begin with. The target maybe on your back. Did you find it difficult keeping focus?
A little bit, but not really. It's some, certainly high expectations on us, but I think our expectations on ourselves and on each other were higher than anyone else expected from us. So, we just kind of worked hard, took it 1 week at a time, and just kept getting it done.
Let's talk about your offense. There's so much to talk about with this offense. All the formations every week. I got every family of offense I feel like is represented with you guys. Single wing, double wing, flex, all that stuff. Do you guys find it like a lot of fun? And how much, I guess, is it, intrinsically do you guys have to be kind of students of the game to really adapt to what you guys do?
Yeah, it's fun. It's tough to learn, but just every day in practice, we run so much different stuff that you get used to it, and so many different formations. We don't stick to one thing like a lot of teams will. My father and the rest of the coaching staff year in year out. They kind of play whatever offense that team's best at, whatever it's going to give them the best chance to win. And this year we have a lot of different weapons, so we can do a lot of different things, and we utilize everyone in our offense and just every type of formation and playing style we can. So
last 2 playoff opponents were spread teams. You played some quarters coverage, you disguised your coverages, you had a lot of pre-snap movement. obviously that's much different from what you're going to see on Saturday from the South. Obviously the game plan, I think, changes a little bit. What obviously Dylan Oxen probably sticks out the most, but what are going to be the biggest keys for you guys trying to slow this offense?
Yeah, Dylan Oxen's a great player, and he runs behind a great offensive line. They've had some great success this season and even last season too. So we just got to try and just man up and play tough physical defense. Obviously, try and take away the run first and foremost, but it's all going to come down to, how we play and how they play. It's just going to come down to winning your one-on-one battles and hopefully winning the team defense.
Thanks very much, Johnny. Let's get it. Division III now pick. Tewksbury, Plymouth South.
This is going to sound like a typical Tewksbury score, where they kind of hang with them early, and then eventually in the second half they kind of grind them out, kind of get away. I think that's what happens here. It's going to be a real slow start to the game. I think it's going to be a couple big possessions, big long possessions.
Yep.
But eventually Tewksbury will get the engine pumping. They weren't able to get the engine pumping here 2 years ago against Tewksbury.
Yep.
A lot of the same guys, but a much different team dynamic. They win this one going away 27-13.
I think probably perhaps one of the more difficult games here to predict. I think it'll be a relatively conservative, low-scoring type of affair. I think there'll be a lot of big hits. Anybody who likes defense and kind of in between the tackles. Yeah, I think this is the one for you coming up here. I'm just basically going to do a coin flip here and go with Plymouth South by a score of 14-13 because, man, I just really think it'll be that close. Now let's take a look at Division II. Again, Division II South, our group of death coming in. Mansfield holds serve, comes through, will be minus one of their biggest weapons. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But, again, perhaps I think I don't want to say the most improbable run, but perhaps of all the teams that are here, perhaps the most surprising, just because how deep this field is St. John Shrewsbury, which is absolutely on a tear right now.
Yeah, I think the only reason that's a surprise is because I think everyone unanimously thought Leominster would come out of that field, and they almost very well did.
Yep.
And same with Springfield Central. I think everyone kind of thought they would come out of there. It just goes to show you, these guys got a lot of grit and they got a lot of good resolve, good character kids, guys that don't get down when things aren't going their way. But they're also very disciplined. They stick to their system. And it's a unique system. And Mansfield has seen fast teams this year, okay? But I don't think they've seen a team that plays as quickly as St. John's. I mean, they're literally trying to line up as soon as the ball is whistled dead and snap the ball. It's very Oregon-like. It's got a lot of shades of it. The people that taught it to Chris Moriarty, the offensive coordinator, he's one of those guys. I think he's underrated. I think when he's getting in a rhythm with play calling, he's really going. It's fun to watch. They evolve every week. Also, Shane Combs is a big part of that, the running back who's committed to Notre Dame for baseball. He's a bull. He's 6'2", close to 200 pounds. He runs that inside zone. They're really good with the quarterback power now. The running guys, pulling them down. But Andrew Smiley looks like his shoulder is getting better. He's going to be able to, that's going to be something to monitor obviously going in. But boy, the Brendan Hill, him out of the lineup, that changes a lot for Mansfield. Whereas before you got a key on that guy, and that's going to open up a lot for guys like Hurley or Hirschman or Villar Perez. Now you got to try to figure out another way to solve the St. John's defense, which has given up a lot of points, but does feature, in my opinion, one of the best defensive backs in the state, Davon Jones, over 100 tackles at free safety. Quite an impressive athlete. I don't think the tackle numbers really do it justice, what kind of a difference he is on the defensive end. I know I'm kind of going off on a couple of tangents here, but there's a lot to discuss with St. John's. I mean, Smiley has a lot of weapons to look at here. Mike McGillicuddy, I think, is the unsung hero here on the offense. He's so reliable, and he really has mastered those underneath routes to really open up the rest of the field. Mansfield, they're going to have to figure out a way to outscore these guys, I think, when it comes down to it. This is going to be a back-and-forth battle, but like a couple other games here, it could come down to who has the ball last, I feel like. Absolutely, and of course, I think the big encouraging sign here for Mansfield coming into this postseason and through the postseason has been Kyle Wisniewski's absolute. You can pretty much set your clock to his performance. Well over in excess of 65% passes completed throughout this run against some very good defenses, including Barnstable there. But again, of course, how does the Hill injury change the dynamic? Also changes the dynamic for basketball season for coming into that. Unfortunately so, yes. They have some consideration there, of course, and Hirschman also dealing with some issues there as well. But being able to use, of course, Hill in that flex tight end wide receiver situation
situation is going to probably change. I would tend to think where they line up Jones across the formation on the flip side of that. And then how do you work off of that? Miguel Villar-Perez, also a little sub-story here, also got injured in the Foxborough game. He's been fighting the thing for the last couple weeks here, going back to the Barnstable game as well. So his availability, don't know if he's quite at 100% coming in. That's a big factor in play here. But as you said, obviously a lot to get to in this matchup. But we get it from St. John Shrewsbury's quarterback, the man who sets it all up, Andrew Smiley.
Drew, you guys were here 2 years ago against Leominster, huge crowd. The experience is always pretty cool for you guys. But was there a bitter taste left after that and then getting geared up for this?
Yeah, definitely. I was just a sophomore. I didn't really touch the field much, but it still hurt a lot walking off the field with a loss. So we definitely don't want to have that happen again. And we've been preparing, so hopefully it doesn't happen.
How is your shoulder?
It's feeling good. I've been practicing, so it feels good. I've been working with it, so I feel pretty good right now.
You've always been tracking some of what's been happening. Obviously, Mansfield might be a little banged up a little bit. Do you kind of monitor that at all and try to see what's going on there?
Not really. We just really focus on what we're going to do. We're just whatever they come out with, we're going to run our game plan against it, and so we're just focused on us right now, trying to be the best team we can be.
Yeah. Are you anticipating a track meet in this one? Mansfield can put up points aplenty, as you've seen in some of the scores here, and you guys always like to play a fast tempo that leads to more possessions.
Yeah, definitely. We like the high-scoring games as offense. Our defense can definitely step up and just do their job, and hopefully it'll be a shootout. Those are always fun. So, yeah.
We've talked a lot about the tempo and the passing game, but Shane Combs' second half of the season, particularly in the playoffs, has carried for stretches there. How integral has that been? Because where he was at the start of the season is not where he is now.
Yeah, definitely. He used to be a quarterback, so he kind of ran like a quarterback, trying to dance outside instead of just pounding it up. Now he just puts his head down and runs kids over. He's one of the strongest kids on our team. He's a great athlete. Like he's a tough kid. He can take a hit, so he just puts his shoulders down and just runs kids over, and that's really what we need in that offense.
Second time here at Gillette, did the feelings different second time around?
Yeah, a little bit now that I'll be on the field more, but it's still amazing being able to play on an NFL field.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Now, again, I think we're going to be working the calculator here pretty quick here. As you mentioned, could be the last team that has the ball wins this one.
Yeah. Well, if you guessed where I was going here, you are correct. I am predicting Central Mass to go 4-0 here on Super Saturday. Beat that, guys. I think have at what you will, but I think they're going to make a sweep here of the Eastern Mass teams here at Gillette Stadium. And I think that means St. John's is going to be the last team to get the ball in this matchup. It's going to be a high-scoring affair because of the number of possessions that it yields due to St. John's tempo. And I think they pull it out here as they did in Leominster and against Central in dramatic fashion. Mm-hmm. So let me give Andrew Smiley orchestrating a game-winning drive here at the end in front of the crowd at Gillette Stadium, finally accomplishing what they couldn't do 2 years ago against Leominster. Yep. St. John's wins 38-31, and Central Mass goes for the sweep. Should be a raucous environment. Of course, I'm sure the entire town of Mansfield will be here because they're not too far away. They were here last time. And, of course, St. John's always comes out and droves full as well. But I take a look back, all the way back, week one. What was the statement? Dunbar, Mansfield, going down there. How dare you go down to Maryland and try to play a team of that? That's audacious, isn't it? Right. And they come out and they pull off probably, withstanding whatever's going to happen here this weekend, the win of the season across Massachusetts football. I think we're confident in saying that. No question. They've been our number one team from pretty much not too far off that point to the present day. And let's not forget also in that matchup against Dunbar, they weren't at 100% in that one either. Missing 5 starters. Absolutely. And it was a work in progress. They finally got to the point, as we said, all cylinders are firing in the playoffs. You take out a Hill, all right, that's obviously going to be a tough loss for you. But ultimately, this team, they just know how to win. They know how to get it done when the chips are down on the table, and I think that's going to hold out here. Again, I think it's just whatever defense can do a little bit more. Take a look at the lineman, Drew Patel from Mansfield, underrated. Jeff Domingo, you've been a big fan of him. Great. The Karate Kid. Got into a little fun with him here today. But I think it's what team can play a little bit more defense here. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that team is Mansfield. So I'm going to go with the Hornets, but it's going to be a barn burner. We'll call it 47-42. Wow. Bring it. Even for a Super Bowl, that's pretty high. It's a little nutty. Wow. Right?
but hey, I think it's going to have that kind of capability. So, and we got one more to get to here. Obviously, Division One. Talking about injuries and how those have kind of borne out since Thanksgiving. And when we saw some of these teams last, Zavarian, Shane Kaminsky is going to be a notable absence here as Zavarian comes in against Central Catholic. Again, talking about teams that who's the surprise that they're here. Hey, if it ain't Everett and they're coming out of the North in Division One, they're a surprise. So how did the Raiders get here?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how they got here. Violence.
Yeah.
They were physical with Everett. I was one of the most some of those brutal hits I've seen all year, and Everett was delivering most of them for most of the game, and Central just withstood all their violent hits, and they came back with a few thuds of their own. These guys are playing with a lot of swagger right now. I mean, we all thought that they would be in that game. I don't think many people thought they did come out actually victorious. Really, you guys beat Everett? But credit to the kids. I mean, this is a team that really gets fired up for their coach, for their school, for each other. Cody Demers, the MVC Offensive Player of the Year, one of the real pleasant surprises of the year. DeAndre Drummond-Myrie, we know what we're getting with him. A couple really good juniors. Marcus Edmonds, Michael Balsamo, Matt Milano, at the quarterback. He's so consistent. Joe Brown on the offensive line, one of the best linemen we've seen all year. They just have a lot of confidence in being the underdog. It's worked well for them, and these guys are not scared. That's the biggest thing. They're not afraid of coming in here against a Catholic Conference team and giving them what they would. I think that counts for a lot. However, Zavarian, even without Kaminsky, this defense, I mean, Joe Gaziano is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, I think. And I don't know how you put a hat on him. He's such a tough matchup. He's so versatile. This is going to be a real grind fest, I think. Yeah, with Zavarian too. Again, you take out Kaminsky, but hopefully it seems as though Noah Sorrento will be back in the fold here. DJ Spurzel was pretty close when we last saw them. I would expect him to be playing here and be a factor as well. So you lose one elemental piece. Kenny Curran goes down there as well. A huge part of that offense too, and defense for that matter. But can they again patch it together here? Yeah. No, it's interesting because I think Zavarian, we've talked about some of the underclassmen and the promising future, 2014 and beyond with some of these kids. This is their chance to show us what they're worth. I think some underclassmen are going to have to step up here for Zavarian. Yeah, in particular that secondary. I mean, Damian Wood sets the tone back there with A.J. King, but Makai Henderson out there. A freshman, huh? Unbelievable, pretty much on an island by himself and holding down some pretty good receivers. But, of course, featuring prominently on the flip side, on the other side of that unbelievable secondary from Central as well, DeAndre Drummond-Myrie. All right, DeAndre, this is you guys as a team, your first Super Bowl appearance in over a decade. Yes. How is the excitement in town?
Very excited. All the family, friends, fans, classmates, everybody's very excited for the game. Keep talking about it every day, but it's so far away now. It's only Wednesday. We want it now because everybody keeps talking about it, but it's very exciting. Very exciting.
How much has momentum been building since that Everett win? That was a program-defining win for you guys, and then going out against Andover again. But just how much momentum has been building from the point of that win over Everett to now?
So much momentum. After that, we knew we were obviously going to play in the state championship, but we knew we had to play Andover first, and that was a big game. And that being Everett gave us a lot of momentum going into the Thanksgiving game, and winning the Thanksgiving game gave us a lot of momentum going into this game.
I want to talk about Cody Demers. We've talked about him as an unsung hero, and he was named MVC Offensive Player of the Year. What an incremental piece of the both sides of the ball, really, that he's been for you guys.
He stepped up huge this year. Especially, I knew he was going to step up in offense, but the defense that really surprised me this year because I remember last year he was a backup corner. We put him in for the Billerica game, and he freaked out. He didn't want to be in there at all, and he always preached how he hated defense. But now he's one of our best defensive players on the team, so it's kind of funny how that works. Yeah.
It seems like you guys have a similar matchup here with Zavarian, as far as guys that you can kind of fit into multiple roles and guys who have home run capability. That seems any tool. What sticks out most about these Zavarian guys when you scout them on offense and defense?
They're very well coached, obviously, but they're good. They made it here. They had a great running game. They obviously, unfortunately, lost their running back, which is terrible for them. I'm very sorry for them about that. But they just had people step up. You know what I mean? A good team always has people ready to play and step up. That really impressed me about them.
Being here at Gillette, What's the experience been like?
It's awesome. You know, coming down in the field and walking through the tunnel, it's just like a dream come true. I always used to watch the Super Bowls on TV when I was younger, and all the year, even last year, all my high school years. I never thought that one day I'd be playing in one, but now I am. So it's surreal.
So with that in mind, how do you describe your emotions now that you're actually being here after thinking you'd never be here?
It's awesome. You know, I'm just so excited. Sometimes I'll just randomly just start smiling and get a burst of happiness because I know I'm playing here on Saturday.
Thanks, DeAndre. Now we got one game left to wrap up here, Brennan. Xaverian Central. What do we got?
I think Xaverian takes a game here in classic Xaverian fashion, low-scoring defensive affair, like we've seen all year from the Hawks. It's going to be dramatic at the end. They're going to make a defensive stop to keep Central cold and win their first Super Bowl title since 2009. Give me Xaverian 13-10.
We've talked about Drummond Mary, Demers a lot, but Marcus Edmonds has been a real pleasant surprise this year.
Definitely.
19 tackles against Everett, 2 for loss. I mean, this kid has really showed up. I think he's going to be somebody to watch going forward, obviously. But I think with again, Xaverian's offense being kind of a work in progress, see what they come with here. Again, it just goes back to the quarterback. Jake Farrell has, bailed this team. Charlie Stevenson's talked all year about looking at last year, third down, clutching late, fourth down conversions. They didn't make plays last year. This team does. That's been the key difference. And Jake Farrell has been a huge part of that. You think back to the Everett game, the fourth down run with their back against the wall there completely changed the tone of the game. I think it's, if Farrell is on his game and being able to make plays with his feet, they'll be in fine form. So I'm going to go with the Hawks here. We'll call it another one-possession game, 22-14. But Brendan, before we leave off here, any last impressions before we get to it on Saturday, which is always our favorite day of the year?
It's a fun day for us. It's a fun day for all involved. I just got to say again, folks coming out here, folks got to be here, players, coaches, spectators, enjoy the moment. You don't get to experience this too often. It's a special moment for everybody involved. It doesn't get better than a high school state championship at the home of the team that you follow all your life. It really does. It really gets as simple as that.
And quite frankly, now you don't have an excuse because this is the only game in town. What else are you doing? So come down, even if you're not a fan of any of these teams, don't have any affiliations, maybe, hey, support your league. I loved seeing for Attleboro down in Xaverian, King Philip came out and forced, hey, these guys come out of your league, they come out of your division. Hitch on the bandwagon. Why not?
Very tribal down there in the Hawk.
It's going to be, I think it should be a great turnout here. It looks like the weather should be pretty good. I think we go every other year with snow and sleet and rain and all that good stuff, but should be good weather. Be a great atmosphere. Of course, a reminder, though, that if you cannot make it out here, we will have the live stream on our website, the only online web resource for you to get the game, so keep up with it then. With that, obviously,
we'll also have our chats.
Our live chat will be going strong all day long with Brennan, myself, John Sarianidis, and Andy Smith, of course, always does yeoman's work with that. And then, of course, everything else you've come to expect, I guess, with our video segments and all the other coverage. It should be a great day, as always, but I think that's going to put a wrap on it. For the final time previewing this season, the next time we'll see you will be a postscript. I'm Scott Barboza, Brennan Hall. Keep it tuned to ESPNBoston.com High Schools.